Saddle up, day traders. Today we're talking accumulation distribution line. It's going to be a fun one. Hello, boys and girls. Today we're measuring the accumulation distribution line. You may know it as the ADL indicator. Okay, for the most part, this is a momentum indicator, and its purpose is to combine volume with price to measure if price has the oomph behind it to move. Okay, so the theory being that what moves price is volume, and so if you've got enough volume to move price, then the ADL indicator is going to indicate that that momentum is enough to keep going in the right direction. Or you can look at a divergence, meaning that the price is perhaps going up, but the ADL line is going down because there's not enough volume to support that price going up. And so that might be an indicator that your trend is getting weak, okay? Because it doesn't have the volume behind it to sustain it. So your trend might be getting weak, and it might be time to get out or perhaps reverse. So it's a simple concept, and we'll be just going over it. We're just going to go through a few days to see how it might work. Now, as always with indicators, they should be combined with some other measure of price action, support and resistance, order flow, whatever it is that you use to determine where your entries and exits and where you want to play the game are at. Indicators should not be used alone. But for this video, we got to make it easy, and we're going to be using it alone. So keep that in mind. All right, so we're starting out today, and today is December 10th. This is on a 5-minute ES chart. And if we start here, we'll kind of work our way backwards a little bit. I hope that doesn't confuse you, but we'll just find some areas of interest, and we'll try to make this fairly quick because it is an easy indicator to understand. And let's start back here at about 1 a.m. Okay. No, we're going to go all the way back to yesterday, late yesterday. Okay, so what you'll notice here, and I'm going back here because I just want to show you the difference in the movement of the line. You've got an obvious kind of dead area of volume. Price is not hardly moving at all. It is in this little baby range, and the ADL line is pretty straight across. So it's telling you, hey, there's no movement in the ADL line. That coincides with no movement in the price. So they're working as they should in this situation. And then when you start getting more movement in the price, the ADL line is also crashing down with it. And so that is your indicator of momentum. But what good does it do if all it does is move in conjunction with price? So that's what you're going to see most of the time. It's not going to tell you much. It's just going to be kind of moving exactly the way price is moving for the most part, with some minor variances. But what you want to look for, the only place that I can imagine this being useful, is when you get some of those divergent areas where things aren't lining up and perhaps they are trying to tell you something. So things get a little more interesting around the 3 a.m. This is Central Time, U.S. Central Time. The price starts slowing down. It starts moving sideways, as does the ADL indicator. But then when you get up to this kind of 420 area, price, it starts going sideways to our eyeballs. But if you look at the ADL, we'll draw this line to help you see it. So maybe to your eyes, the price practically moves sideways, but as the ADL, you can see there was a nice peak here and then a much lower high. So that might be your indication that we actually are dropping in interest. We're dropping perhaps in volume, or maybe we have the volume to push the price down. Either way, the ADL is trying to give you this warning that, hey, price right now is looking weak and might continue to go down. Because remember back here, we had this sideways movement and the ADL was flat across, right? Nothing. But over here, price is kind of flat going across, but the ADL is dropping, okay? So these are the kind of the main areas where the strategy of the ADL would come into play. So let's move across here, see if there's anything of interest. Does not appear to be. And then, ooh, we got some early morning action. But the ADL pretty much just went up with that action. So let's go back, see what else we can find. Let's get into the thick of yesterday. Let's get rid of that big peak. So if we're looking at yesterday, the ADL line is kind of slowly moving up. It's kind of taking its time moving up. And so an area of divergence could be in this 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. area here. Price has pulled back quite a bit, but the ADL has not hardly pulled back at all. We can zoom in a little bit on that. I mean, you can tell that it's been trucking up, and price had this big pullback, but the ADL has been moving up with gusto. And so you might say, hey, it's going to meet this bottom down here. Let's meet this bottom down here. I'm playing the ADL line. It's moving up, telling me good stuff. So maybe I'll take this area of support right there. All right, so it could have come into play there. We will see if we can see on this big move what would have happened. ADL. Don't think you would have seen much there, boys and girls, other than this bar here. It's definitely got, you know, a bearish flag to it, but it's got some bullish close here. You would probably call that a bearish bar. The ADL has completely crashed. And so at this point, you're probably not looking to go long. However, bam, in your face. But that's around the market open. You know, price moves a lot at market open. So ADL certainly would not have helped you there. It might have even got you in trouble. But if you'll notice, as our support and resistance line from earlier in the day comes across, that's basically where it hit before it moved up. So that was the warning I gave you at the beginning of the day, that any single indicator should not be used alone as a dedicated direction of price, a dedicated indicator of entries and exits. Do not do that. You will get in trouble. Okay, we'll take a look at one more. Like I said, this is a super easy indicator to understand, so it doesn't need a lot of explanation. We'll go back to... we'll go back to this earlier in the day. Pretty much is just moving right along with price. However, certain things, we could call this maybe a hidden divergence. And I don't know why all these are happening early in the morning. I probably would not be awake for any of these. But in this situation, if you look at the ADL line, you've got a peak back here at 355. And then you've got lower hits, multiple lower hits from about 5:30 on to 6 a.m. However, on the price chart, you can clearly see that we have an area of resistance across there. So this is one of those maybe hidden divergences. You know, you got to be paying attention to far in the past here. And you can tell that even though price has made it back up and right to the tip of that previous high, the ADL has not. It didn't have the energy to move that high. So you could say, well, maybe we're due for a short here. And this would actually be this is one of those good situations for ADL, right? Because you're saying, well, this previous high could be an area of resistance, but I don't know if it's going to be. This looks like a super bullish bar. Maybe it's going to break through, but the ADL is giving you that warning that maybe it doesn't have the volume to push through, that maybe things are getting weak. And so if in your plan, this was an area that you wanted to look at as going short, you would have that idea first, and then you would look at the ADL and see if it backed you up, right? It's just some confirmation bias is all you're looking for, confirmation bias. And that may be all we do, because then you get this massive run up, and ADL does not help you on those kind of moves. Let's see if we can get past that. On this big, strong trend, let's see if it helps you out on this big, strong trend at all. Okay, so this would be pretty difficult probably to see in real time. As with anything in trading, hindsight is so fun. It makes you feel like you've missed all the obvious things, but it's actually very difficult to spot some of these deals. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the ADL had this moment where it crashed, okay? So this is about 8:55 a.m. Central. Had this moment where it crashed, but the price didn't crash at all. All right, it just came back just a slight bit. We're in this really strong uptrend. And then you're moving across. It doesn't seem like a whole lot is happening. It still looks like you're pumping out this strong uptrend, even though really what you're doing is moving sideways, because this price is the same as here, is the same as here. But the ADL indicator, like I said, so if your plan here is, hey, this is a very strong momentum, I'm certainly not going to try to go short here. I just want to find a place where I can go long. Maybe what you saw was that price has hit here a few times and the ADL has been climbing the entire time. Okay, you see that? So ADL has been climbing the entire time. So specifically on this bar here coming down, you can see that's much higher than this bar back here. And that's actually my favorite move, even though it might have been the hardest one to spot. That's kind of my favorite move because it's kind of difficult to see that this is even moving sideways in that strong uptrend without drawing this support line. And the ADL might have tipped you off that things were actually pumping along, but you might have thought things were getting boring, or maybe you didn't see this at all. So that's kind of a nice place. My final conclusion of the ADL indicator, perhaps it could work into your plan. I'm not a big fan of indicators in general, so I don't use it, but I hope that you have learned something. And if you plan on using it, I hope you have learned a little bit about how to use it. Now, if that is the case, please hit the like button, my friends. It helps me to continue to make more of these videos. Without your support, YouTube doesn't see that I have really even posted a video. I mean, it sees that I posted it, but it doesn't put it anywhere where anyone can find it. But the more interaction that you have with these videos, if you ask questions, if you subscribe, if you like, just pick one of those. The more that you interact, the more that YouTube ranks these videos, and then the more videos I can make. All right, now, the last thing I'm going to do is post up 2 videos here with some YouTube magic, 2 more of my videos. If you find those interesting, please click on one of those and maybe you can learn something else. We'll put up the cumulative volume delta indicator video and then a surprise video. All right, guys. Happy trading. I'm out.